everyone. This is Teresa Mueller from NICAR, and we are hosting our Commercial Global Business Network webinar. This is a monthly webinar where we bring commercial practitioners from all over the world talking about hot topics in real estate. We've talked about accepting crypto for real estate in South and Latin America. We've had talking about a planned city in Africa. We've had practitioners from Japan, Philippines, Europe. So we welcome anyone who can talk about hot topics in commercial real estate. Then we have a Q&A and then a networking session afterwards. So of course the session is recorded. We ask that everyone have their camera off and sound off during the recorded session. We have a chat during this webinar where everyone can share their contact information and what they have going on. Of course, afterwards, when we have the networking session, everyone's allowed to give one commercial need and want, and that is not recorded. If you have any questions, feel free to ask at any point. And then this recorded session will go on the Commercial Global Business Network site that's part of NICAR. It is a multi-association endeavor, so we ask all associations to participate. We love to hear what global events that you have going on. We will help you advertise them, and we also have a NICAR YouTube page. And feel free to follow up with any questions with me, Teresa Mueller, the chair of NICAR. You can find us on that page. So I would like to introduce Ahmed, who was Global Ambassador of the Year. He has so many accolades. He knows so many people. He's one of my besties. He is always helping collaborate, bringing on wonderful presenters onto this webinar. We appreciate everything he does. He's going to talk a little bit about global and introduce Alina as well as our presenters. Ahmed?
Thank you, Teresa. So, before I go ahead, we had the opportunity to be in South Africa in February of this year for a South Africa NAR, Rebosa, including ISA. These are the two bilateral partners we have in South Africa. So I know Adrienne Dutoit is somewhere on here. She did call me, but she's in a bad spot with load shedding, so she has a problem getting on. But hey, there you are, Adrienne. This woman is a miracle woman. I'll tell you, she is amazing. In 3.5 weeks, she put this entire conference and scheduled for us in South Africa. Conference in 2 big cities, in Johannesburg and in Cape Town. Each of those conferences had over 1,000 people. So that was amazing. She had all the stakeholders from private sector and government sector being present. And that's where we had the opportunity to meet with our friends at BidProp and Raleigh. Thank you, Karine, for running around that whole day and getting us together in Soweto and everywhere else. So, Adrienne, thank you, my dear. We're going to be doing this. Thank you. Thanks to you. So,
thank you, Ahmed. Thank you. Appreciate the kind words.
Both the resumes for both these organizations, for Dylan and for Tafrik, for BidProp and for Raleigh, who's a superstar, is on our registration page. There's a lot to talk about, and these guys are very impressive, and they were great hosts. So we had a wonderful time, and I thought, what better opportunity than to showcase this wonderful folks and their mission. This is a mission that can be, here in the US, all over the world. So without going further, by the way, I saw somebody who's a new kid in the block, Stephanie Aker, is new staff at NAR. She's part of the new global team. Welcome, Stephanie. And we hope to see more of you in the future. I know Alex is tied up with issues going on at the moment. And I think Holly is off on a few days. So Alina was one of our, she is the coordinator for the region for Eastern Europe, Middle East, and Africa. She's a global coordinator. And so she was on this trip along with us. So she has first-hand knowledge of what we saw there. So I'm not going to take much more of your time, and I'm going to pass the mic to Alina. Go ahead, Alina.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Ahmed, and thank you, Teresa, for organizing this. I think that this was definitely it's a subject that's just very important to present here. And we were very fortunate and very honored to be in this trip organized by Rebosa. Many thanks to Adrienne again. And we met this wonderful people in person, and we were fortunate enough to see what they're doing. And while their solutions might be, of course, adapted to their own country's legislation and local problems, the housing shortage is a global problem, not just in South Africa, but also in the United States and really all over the world. And so is the ownership gap between different segments of the population. And I think that this is, it will be, I would not like to talk so much, but let them talk. It's it's something to learn from, and there are different solutions that we can look at, even here in the United States. Most people here who are participating are from the United States, and we are actually US-based professionals, but I'm so happy to see here also South African guests joining and people that I tagged, in my posts, and I'm very happy that they are here and joining us. And I think that we'll learn a lot from the experience and how Proptech and fintech platforms could help a housing shortage and affordability. And it's just interesting to hear their story as well. So thank you very much for having me.
Thank you very much, Alina and Ahmed. Ahmed, could you also introduce our presenters, as you know them much better than I do?
Yes. So, we're going to start off here with Dylan and Tashreeq. These are the two young superstars from Cape Town. And very impressive what they're doing. This could be replicated anywhere. It's a great idea. And so I'm not going to talk too much about it. I'll let them tell us their story. We had the opportunity to go to the township Khayelitsha with Kenny Parcell, president of NAR, was there too. Alina and Holly Backer from NAR, along with Adrienne. So Dylan, it's you and Tashreeq. Take it over and give us a background. Tell us what's going on. Everybody's anxious to know.
Sure. No, thank you so much for having us. Tashreeq, my colleague, and I are here in Cape Town, South Africa. And we work for BitProp. I do general operations and marketing, and Tashreeq's our lead architect. So I'll give a brief introduction about what BitProp does in general, and Tashreeq can talk a bit more about the specifics. Perhaps we can share some slides, if you can allow that, please.
Yeah, please.
Just to give some context, thank you. All right. So the space BitProp works in is, so we work in townships in South Africa, predominantly outside Cape Town. I think everyone understands township, maybe shanty town or informal settlements. So we're working with property owners in the townships who've received land either from the state over the last 20 years, or they've bought it through some sort of low income bank bond scheme. And they have a piece of property and a house on the property. It's a 1 or 2 bedroom house and space in the backyard. And they don't have the means to develop that space. So we partner with them to develop rental property behind their house. So studio apartments, we'll build 4 to 6 open plan studio apartments on their property behind the house. And that gets rented out. And we call that backyarding or backyard rentals. It's a trend across South Africa and much of the developing world. But we formalize it and professionalize it for people to have access to. So we come in with the funding, we have our architects on board and the construction managers, and we partner with local contractors from the townships we're working in, and we build the flats in very much a partnership with the property owners and walk with them through the journey of becoming property entrepreneurs. So we construct our flats, help them find tenants and rent it out. And for 10 years, we share the rental income to recover our capital costs, to cover maintenance and insurance, and to give them a new income stream, which after 10 years becomes 100% when we step away. So the model is very much built around income creation for people who have the understanding is your land is for most people is kind of your only asset of significant value and your biggest tool to increase your living standards. So helping people find a way to use the land to reduce their reliance on income or state pension, especially in South Africa where the state pension is so low and unemployment is so high. So we enter into a partnership with them and make it really much easier for them to walk that journey. I think so. That's the model in a nutshell. The thinking behind it is also, rather the financial model is we get private investment in from individuals, family offices, mostly European, who invest into sort of a fund structure. And we draw down from that fund to develop our properties, and the rental income that's collected goes back into that fund. So over a period of 10 years, the investment is earning a return. So the investor is incentivized to invest. It's a sustainable development model that's not reliant on government construction or donation financing. So at the heart of it is very much the idea is to create a commercial model that can have significant impact by tapping into a market that already exists and creating the right incentives around it. So some of you will have seen on your site visit, you will have seen one of our properties in person, and that's really the best way to get a feel for what we're doing. We obviously can't do that now, but I can show you a couple of pictures of what our properties look like. So Tashrik, you can talk about the property itself. I will just see if we can show a couple of pictures of a property.
So most of the sites or properties that we work on range between 300 and 400 square meters. Of that sort of size, the house takes about, say, 80 square meters up of that site, and the backyard flats takes about 100 square meters. So we are sort of densifying the land and sort of optimizing it to its maximum capability in terms of value. The units that we do build, they're about 16 to 20 square meters. They all come with prepaid water, prepaid electricity. So everyone's responsible for their own water and electricity. Instant water heaters, a kitchenette, and space for a double bed, as well as a workstation, which is something we recently incorporated for those who are working from home. The materials that we do use, we try to sort of be as passive as much as possible in terms of cross ventilation and such. You won't find mechanical ventilation within our units. Also, our construction is double skin walled, so that keeps the units sort of warm in the winter and cold or cool in the summer. We've also adapted new materials such as The product called Resonate. It's basically an eco aggregate that's used within all our concrete products that we use within our build. It inherently provides as well greater characteristics of thermal characteristics and properties as well, such as greater fire ratings, better thermal insulation, and better acoustic values. And this material product is actually made from recycled plastics that's found within landfills. We've also started an initiative within the communities that we work, where you'll have people sort of collecting these plastics, bottles, and what have you, that has been sort of dumped, and they'll get sort of a piece of some sort of income from that weekly as well. So they'll basically collect the plastics that go into our materials that is used to build for them within their communities. We've also incorporated a lightweight floor, composite first floor, that consists of sort of a composite concrete polystyrene product called Envirolite. So like the plastics, it's recycled and collected from landfills. And this product also inherently provides better thermal properties, better fire ratings, less strain on our foundations as well. Yeah, anything else?
Oh, so we've been around since 2019. And in the beginning, it was very much a pilot. We had a bunch of assumptions we had to prove or disprove. There was a lot of distrust that we could build at the right per square meter rate, that we could collect rent in a township environment, that the whole financial model would balance enough for it to be possible. So that was a lot of what we had to prove in the beginning. We now have over 200, 210, 220 flats operating across a number of properties. It should be about double that by the end of this year. So the model works. It's of course involved a lot of figuring out the right design, what's optimal for tenants, what tenants are looking for, what the best construction methods to use in the township are, where to have a balance between the right cost and quality and length of time. We have to be in partnership with the property owner. No, so I think there's a lot of stuff we can talk about that, but it's been a long journey to get to where we are now, but extremely impactful. We don't see it as it's not a South African problem. Unemployment, housing shortage is prevalent around the world. And that's where we see the future. We're trying to build a model that can attract the right capital and enough capital to put into projects like this, to partner with local property owners, develop their properties, and generate a return and create impact at the same time in as many different properties, cities, countries as possible. Well, am I missing anything? Sustainable, yeah. So what's of course quite relevant in our space, especially when we're looking for funding, is addressing sustainable development goals. It's been an interesting process in our model because it addresses so many different things on different levels. So the homeowner that has the property is getting a massive new income stream and skills upliftment to become a property entrepreneur. The other big development is the local contractor that we work with. So we'll have key contracting partners who have subcontractor teams in the areas we're building, and for them it's very much they're learning these new environmentally friendly construction methods, and they have a consistent income stream because they're rolling projects with us. And then, of course, for tenants who are living in the flats, it's there's a massive housing shortage, and our flats are very good quality for the areas they're in, and they're priced at the market level. So for tenants living in the flats, it's great. So great economic impact, social impact, and environmental impact that we've started incorporating into the model as it's become cost effective. We found the right materials. It can be used in the local context, and
Easily adaptable designs.
yeah, easily adaptable. We've been able to upskill the contractors to use those materials, and so that's an ongoing process to improve our design. And I think maybe that's enough for now. We could, of course, talk for ages.
Can I
about-
ask a quick question since you have this slide up? Are
course.
you able to say what this is equivalent in either euro or US dollars?
Oh, that's a good point. So 3,500 now with the current exchange rate must be like 180 euro or so. And this is at the upper level. So that's in Rand 3,500. We have flats that go down to 2,000 Rand. So it's
And so what would be typical rent or housing costs in these areas? Is that comparable?
It's comparable for a bachelor flat, yeah.
Okay.
So we try not to undercut or overcut the market. We come in with a better product, and that attracts the tenants without disrupting the existing rental market.
All right, great. Thanks. That was awesome.
Teresa,
yes.
to your point, so it doesn't give you a very good comparison when you look at the exchange rate, because the dollar is very strong against the South African rand. I mean, 3,500 rands is a lot of money in South Africa. It's $183 for us. So you cannot even compare it. Yeah, it's very difficult. But what's happening there, this is top of the range in the township. In the city, it's going to be much higher. So you're creating this rental market in the township, but with units that have been approved. You've got the zoning approved. So it's and BidProp collects the rent. They choose the tenants. So they do. There's nothing in that's left to the owner to do. Am I correct, Dylan?
Yeah. So we provide the support to do all of that and try and enable the property owner over time to take over those skills so that they are able to do it themselves at the end of 10 years. But we have to ensure that it runs smoothly, as you say.
Right. Well, wonderful. Anything else you want to? We'll get back into a question. I'm sure participants are going to have a lot of questions for Teresa.
Yes. Yeah, if you could introduce Raleigh, that would be great.
Yeah. So Raleigh and Korean, either one. Who's going to go first?
Well, Raleigh was ready to speak from his heart.
I'm ready. Yeah.
Okay, Raleigh is in Tokyo. I mean, look at him, man. He's a jet setter.
Do you want me to put the slides up? Hi, Ahmed.
Yeah, well, go ahead. Exactly. Just you want to give us a little background and say, I mean, everything.
No, you can go ahead.
Go ahead, Corinne.
No, you can start. You can.
Okay, no, that's fine.
Behind the scenes, the tech person today.
She's humble like that. Well, thanks everyone for joining us. I mean, Karine will share a bit of our presentation, but I don't want to bore you with the details. I assume that most of the people that are on this webinar are property people. So, some of the stuff you guys know. The main point is that I'm sorry that I'm in Tokyo, and I shouldn't be apologizing, but I love South Africa, and I wanted to speak from South Africa so I can really really feel that I'm speaking from the heart and from South Africa, but I had to attend something else here in Tokyo. But this is quite exciting for me to be here, to speaking to colleagues from the other side of the world. And I assume we have also people from South Africa that have joined us. We from the Mampela Foundation and the South African Housing and Infrastructure Fund, called SAHIF. And essentially what we have is that we have a foundation that has partnered with the University of Johannesburg, and the foundation is called the Mampela Foundation. And essentially, we're sitting in a country where we have about just over now 2.6 million housing shortfall. The stats are always too much, a little bit boring, but essentially that's the real numbers that we're sitting at. And our government since 1994 have really done a lot of work in making sure that we can deliver affordable housing in the country, in South Africa, and they have delivered close to 5 million houses since 1994. But every year there's a growth in the need. But one of the things that we've realized is that we are dealing with issues where we feel that our government is spending a lot of billions of rands, if not dollars, in making sure that people can have a roof over their head. But the quality is also of a concern. I mean, if you look at what you guys do, Ahmed, in the US, Europe, and what I'm seeing here in Tokyo, it's stuff that can be sustainable. This is stuff that you can come and have a look at it in the next 50, 100 years. It'll still be there, even if not more. But we felt that there's a couple of issues. One of them is that there is obviously a need for South Africa to accelerate delivery of affordable housing, because there's a dignity in anyone having a roof over their head, one. But two, how do we deal with the issue of quality and sustainability? In South Africa, like it or not, one of the challenges that the government doesn't have so far, things may change, is that normally resources in terms of availability of budget to accelerate delivery of affordable housing is pretty much sort of available at this point in time. The issue is how do we implement, how do we build with quality and deal with other elements. So we as a foundation decided that we want to partner with the university to do a research on various things. One of them is that we wanted to make sure that we can be able to say, how do we build quality units? How do we build going higher story so that we can be able to have more people per square meter? Because obviously land is a really a resource that is rare. And so we decided that we'll do a bit of research. So we call it the sustainable building material and technology. And essentially, one of the first project that we've done was that we brought in a 3D print. And it sounds very cliche in terms of 3D, but essentially a lot of people are still studying the technology. But one of the things that I've learned is that most of developing countries have an opportunity to actually implement most of these new technologies, being a selfless driving cars, electric cars, because everything is sort of at its own space where we're only starting up with a lot of things. So there's a lot of opportunity for us to create roads that can actually be able to accept selfless driving cars. So everything we're just starting from scratch. So we thought that it would make sense for us to look at how 3D print can be able to help to accelerate delivery of affordable housing in South Africa. And what we did, we partnered with the University of Johannesburg and government, Department of Science and Innovation, where it's a triple P between the three of us. And essentially, we built the first 3D print house in South Africa of a standard of government, what they call it, RDP house, redevelopment and construction unit of about 40 square meters that government is offering to people that cannot afford to get units for free. And we built one of the first units, and maybe we can just see that presentation of some of the images of the 3D print that as a first project that we've done with the university. And I think that's quite exciting for us. If you look right there, this is the actual unit that Ahmed and everyone else, including the president of NAR, had an opportunity to actually see the specific unit. This is when we were starting to construct the unit. I mean, if you have time and you can Google a typical South African house, that government sort of gives it away to people that cannot afford, we of the view, and humbly so, that the quality and the speed is quite different. So we could build the same house that can take about maybe 2 weeks to build a house of this magnitude. We were able to build this within a space of 8 hours. And we have now gone as further as getting local material to be able to actually build this this unit. And that is also creating a lot of opportunities for young people, women who may have not seen the construction business as maybe an exciting career. They're now excited. Maybe about 70% of our students that are studying this 3D print at the university are really generally people that are women and young people. So that's quite exciting. So we have come up with a product where we can build a 40 square meter housing unit within a space of 8 hours. Of course, it creates other opportunities in terms of jobs. There still has to be an opportunity of us installing doors and other possible extra things that need to be put, the roof and other things. So I think one of the questions that we normally get from people is to say, well, how about job creation? So what we've seen with this 3D print is that it's creating other alternative job opportunities to people. So for example, we're looking as a foundation and the university and also with our fund to create opportunity to actually manufacture some of this 3D print. So as much as we're losing jobs in terms of maybe people building the actual house, we are creating other alternative entrepreneurship opportunities and job opportunities in terms of manufacturing this 3D prints in the country, but also getting into the cement, or what we call a 3D print, what we call a printing ink, which is the actual material that looks like cement. We're going to be manufacturing that in locally, and that will create more jobs that were never there before. So it's quite exciting. We're busy studying the technology in terms of cost. So far, the indications are not official, but we of the view so far, and we should be finishing this in the next 2 to 3 months. But the indication has said, hey, this is about 25% less cost compared to the normal traditional building of homes. But one of the things that we do, Ahmed and the team, is that we accelerate delivery of affordable housing in South Africa by buying land. What happened is that government buys a lot of, give budgets to different states, what we call provinces in South Africa. And every year you find that people take back close to 50 million to 60 million US dollars back to Treasury, to central Treasury, not spent simply because they don't have a land that is ready. So what we do as the fund, we buy land, we go through the application of getting all the rights of the land, permits in the US language. We then install the facilities or the infrastructure that is needed in terms of making sure that the land is ready. And then while we do that, we also have partnered in a business that does fiber business operation, where we are able, as we install these services, we also install underground fiber so that the affordable housing market can also be able to have an opportunity to be able to connect to the internet. So we will then install the services. And once we've installed the services, we are then able to get the land ready and actually partner with government or sell the land to government or private sector, listed companies, so that they can be able to do the top structure to accelerate delivery of affordable housing in South Africa. So our ecosystem is quite simple. We buy land, we go through the permits processes, we install the infrastructure services, we get the land ready, in making sure that the different provinces slash states don't take back money that is not spent, because then they have already land that they can be able to build. So that's one of the things that we pride ourselves in terms of accelerating delivery of affordable housing in South Africa. We also have, obviously, as a foundation, sponsored a lot of young people to study the concept in terms of 3D print, to study about other alternative building technologies, not only 3D, but any other alternative technology that can be able to help us to accelerate delivery of affordable housing. We have also partnered as a fund with one or two other entities that want to fundraise and give money or resources to young people that may want to get into the Proptech space that can be able to answer the question of delivering of affordable housing in South Africa. So we're quite excited. We are a broad foundation that gets involved in 4 pillars of education, global health, community development, but also property mentorship, where we have about 25 young people that we're mentoring who are from previously disadvantaged individuals or previously disadvantaged areas. And we are supporting them in terms of making sure that we can hold their hand to get them to the next level, in terms of making sure that they can be able to participate in the delivery of affordable housing in South Africa. So we're quite excited. We will be here to listen to, maybe to hear more questions from yourself. We are looking for partnership, of course, in terms of saying, how do we scale this up in such a way that we say to ourselves, if we have good investment and opportunities of partnership, knowledge, skills, time, mentorship, we feel that we can be able to really make a difference in the next 2 to 3 years in terms of making sure that we can deliver more units with the technology of 3D print and amongst other alternative building technologies we are looking at. We are also looking at innovative ways of how do we finance people in the country, in the continent, because a lot of people, you find that as the BitProp, you find that people have their own informal businesses, maybe they're not bankable. We are trying to find a way to say, how do we partner with international funding groups to make sure that we can be able to finance the people that are really not bankable, but they are selling vegetables, they're doing other things on the side, and they have income that is not recorded. We're trying to find innovative ways through Proptech in monitoring their income and making sure that we can be able to then fundraise for them. And lastly, part of the things that we do is that as we give this land that is service and it's got all the facilities to be able to build, we also understand that people sometimes don't have enough funding or the lending capacity to build a house all at a go at once. So what we do, we're also looking at options of innovative way through property tech, where we are able to help people to build their property in a way that is scalable, in a way that is incremental. So if somebody doesn't have enough money to build a house today, we can give them a piece of land. They can build their house over 2 years, 3 years, 4 years with innovative funding that they can afford at a certain stage so that they can be able to get to a goal of finishing off their homes. So that's quite exciting for us. And we look forward to engaging with yourselves and seeing what opportunities we can be able to create in terms of accelerating delivery of affordable housing in South Africa. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Raleigh. So this is what I heard in terms of goals. And I'm sure there seems to be many. One, that you're quickly addressing affordable housing with quality building materials, doing sustainable development using local and recycled materials. You're teaching skills and creating jobs. And ultimately, all this is leading to generational wealth. Did I miss any really big ones? I mean, obviously, the mental health capacity was another interesting goal. Did I miss anything?
No, I think you're spot on. I think one of the things is that the innovative funding or financing of end user finance, that's one of the opportunities that Proptech is creating in the country in tracking the unbankable communities so that we are able to help them to get funding for affordable housing.
So if anyone has questions, please raise your hand. I will call on you. My question in the meantime, while people are raising their hands, is trying to understand the income and expense structure. So where are all the sources of income? Where are the expenses? And trying to understand the rent side with the tenants. So could you just kind of re-highlight the income and expense structure?
Is that a question for BitProp when you're talking?
For both, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think maybe BitProp can go through on this one, because they're working on that. But what I can say, Ahmed, maybe before the BitProp guys start, is that one of the things that happens, as I said earlier on, is that you find an elderly lady, or maybe a 40, 50-year-old lady who basically sits in the corner of the street and sells something, being vegetable, fruits, small farming, and she's not able to basically maybe even bank the money that she makes every day. With Proptech, it creates an opportunity for us to be able to say, look, can we fund you a rental somewhere in Tembisa in Johannesburg, where we can be able to track and see how you're paying that rental of and every month. And if you are able to do that in the next 6 months to a year, we can be able to actually show the financial institutions that actually this lady is able to pay for her financing. Somebody who does cut hair, or he's got a barber shop and is not really bankable at this point in time, we are able to come up with concept within the Proptech space to say, can we do a rent to buy concept of opportunities where we are able to showcase that the person can, in the next 6 to 12 months, be able to do that. That creates an opportunity for them to be able to bankable. In terms of the cost side of developments, it all depends. So if we, as I said earlier on, the South African government has an opportunities where they are creating entrepreneurs who are able to be able to build these units, and they can borrow them money so that they can be able to collect money from people that are not bankable. So that link of getting funding, either from international investors, local banks, to create stock for the unbankable is quite a unique space that the Proptech can be able to put it together to make sure that we can connect both the dots. But I think BitProp will probably be in a better position to answer that, because they do a lot of rental stock. Yeah.
Dylan?
Go ahead, Dylan.
Yeah. No, so on our side, so from a homeowner or landlord perspective first, there would be the same kind of profile. Maybe someone that's unemployed, maybe selling something on the street. They don't put any money into our project, so they provide the land and we build the rental flats. That obviously earn rental income that the homeowner shares in. And for them, that's an alternative to another, selling something on the street, or maybe probably a low-paying, fairly insecure job they might have. So using a property to generate income from 6 flats is generally much more secure than one job that's generally not that stable. From a tenant point of view, they are, it's a normal tenant system. The tenants are generally young, sometimes students or working professionals that live in the area. And for them, they pay rent each month. That comes into us. We just distribute to the property owner, cover maintenance and insurance. I'm not sure if is that in line with what you're asking?
Yeah, I'm trying to understand from a logistics, what are all the sources of income, right? Because we have the foundation, you have people renting. and who is getting the income, what are the expenses? So, just like if I were to do a spreadsheet, trying to understand that, right? Because we're commercial practitioners and we say, okay, how do we get the income? How do we get expenses? How are we creating this such that they're going to be able to be there long term? So just understanding that model, all those pieces.
Yeah. Okay, so if you look at one property, it's got, let's say, 6 flats on the property.
Mm-hmm.
The cost, so we've invested the cost into that, into construction. It starts generating rent. It's maybe 3,500 Rand per flat.
So like
month.
that initial money though, so creating that property, who paid for it? And the land, and who paid?
Yeah, so that's where the investment comes in. So we have private investment that has, it's pretty much all come from Europe. Private individuals, family offices, that sort of capital. They invest into a fund or a fund type of structure. And they're invested in for 7 to 10 years. The capital is used to build all of our projects, and the rent generated across the portfolio goes back into the fund each month. And so they're earning a return on the money, per year return on the aggregate of our portfolio.
Okay. So in that private fund, they're paying for the land, they're paying for the project.
They're paying for construction. So the homeowner already owns the land.
Okay.
There is
yes.
The land is the homeowner's investment part. That's already there, so nobody pays for that. So that's the equity the homeowner starts off with. The investment comes from the European partners. And then at the end of the day, there's a monthly amount that goes to the landlord, but the owner, at the end of 10 years, they're only free and clear. But you got to remember, a lot of the households are female-led households, a single mother or grandmother household, where they have no other income coming in. And it's what Raleigh's talked about, was this women selling, and that's a big economy. They're selling on the street corners or where the people are, generally working in factories, selling fruits, vegetables. So they are creating a path for them to become part of the, it's part of the economy, whereby, they're not going to be able to get loans in banks or not be recognized as a business owner, but yeah, they're creating it. And I just want to say something. Ronnie he can retire today, but he is vested in the country and the youth and what's going on there. So I admire what he's doing. And Karine is part of the support system with him. What Dylan and Tashreeq are doing, and these can be replicated into other places. So Landry here who lives in the US, is from Nigeria. And we talked today, and I invited him to come on and I'd say, listen to what's happening in Southern Africa. Listen to these folks. And we were very impressed. And Alina, if you want to add anything, just.
Yeah, thank you for, we were very impressed when we were there. Of course, we were talking about, like with BitProp, they just started and they had a pandemic in front of them, which made things more complicated. But obviously, you will have for programs like that, the most important piece is financing. So you have to continue to find financing resources until the program will be viable on its own. Because imagine for 10 years, they will hold the property. And of course, although they give just 15% to the homeowners, they maintain the property. And of course, during this time, they educate the homeowners as well, and the landlords, right? They become landlords, they become business people, right, in property. So the big piece here, I think it's education, it's financial fluency, and this is how we empower people. Obviously, we can find all sorts of technology platforms and systems. You know, they could all work in different combinations. You can use blockchain, you can use AI, you can use machine learning for different things, and digital printing. But I think a big part of this is educating this people, empowering them, and just teaching them how to be financial fluent for generation. And I think this is what they are both doing, and it's very important.
Ahmed is going to ask a question. Does anyone else have questions? Please raise your hand and we will call on you. Ahmed, did you have a question or more comments?
Oh, yeah, no, I just wanted to comment. Raleigh's still here. So, you know, Raleigh comes with a lot of experience. By the way, he also studied at Harvard University, where he got his advanced management development program in real estate. So he's very familiar with stuff just not happening in South Africa, but elsewhere too. And he's on various boards there, got a lot of accolades and recognition for what he's doing. So we really appreciate Adrienne for bringing us in contact with Raleigh and for BitProp. But BitProp, question for you: where did this idea originate from?
It was a combination of two things. So, the main founder of BitProp is from Sweden, and in Sweden, much of its wealth comes from 200 years ago when people were given private land rights. And so he lives in South Africa, and he was working with an NGO here that gives out title deeds to township residents through conveyance. So they raise money to do conveyancing, to give people title deeds, with the understanding that that's a great way to improve someone's living standards. But it was an inefficient way. You know, you would raise a bunch of capital and put thousands of hours into only hand out 100 title deeds. And so it was partly a search for what is a more sustainable way to help people use their properties to create long-term wealth, to create something to leave to their children, to create a pension for them to look after them in their old age, because the pension is so low in South Africa. So it was that, and recognizing that the backyard rental industry in South Africa is huge. It's already happening. It's very informal. Most of what gets built is not very safe, or it doesn't go through council approval. So can you tap into that, do it in a professional way that helps someone get much more value out of their property, to create long-term wealth? So it was a couple of insights from seeing those things happening, backyard rentals, and trying to help people make use of their land in a sustainable way, and also to find a way that doesn't rely on a big foundation or government funding. Like, can you create a model that does this by attracting capital and making it sustainable?
So another one of my questions is, what have been the biggest challenges that you've faced?
Council.
Without doubt, it would be the challenges we get from the municipalities and sort of the laws that we are fighting against. Many of our sort of building laws or regulations are based off an apartheid system, and we've been fighting for the past, 2 or 3 years, since the beginning, really, to reform and change those laws to help sort of the people who need it most. So that, without a doubt, there's always a whole lot of red tape that comes with submitting our plans and getting it approved, and sort of speaking to people within the councils and municipalities that we work within or work with. But yeah, it's been a fight, but those laws are changing really soon. About a month or two's time, the law will get passed. So we've been fighting a good fight, and proud of how far we've come. Yeah.
There's an unbelievable amount of red tape
Yeah.
to get a property approved. It doesn't really match up with the reality on the ground. So that's probably the biggest roadblock.
And maybe, we've been talking in general terms and what your objectives were. Do you have any individual success stories like, okay, here was a mom, this was her situation, and here's where she's at now? I mean, is there any like particular individual that maybe you can share their story?
What?
Well, for me personally, it was a homeowner that I've come across about a year and a half ago. He approached me while I was sort of finishing off on another project within the area. He came to me, he said, my house is paid up, I don't have a job, I don't have any form of income. What can I do for you? What can you do for me? I then visited his property soon after, took a look at it. He had backyard shacks or informal settlements in his backyard, and there was a lot of illegal activity happening as well. But he just wanted something better for himself, and his family has sort of outcasted him as well. We then sort of helped him, which is Zola. It's Zola, by the way. His name is Zola. We helped him. I helped him reconnect with his family as well. We put a will into place as well. And then about, say, 2 or 3 months after we finished building and constructing and had tenants in, he passed away. So, fortunately. So right now, his sister, who sort of didn't speak to him before and outcasted him before, is taking over on his behalf and sort of catering for his daughter as well, who didn't as well speak to him before. So that's just an example of how much impact we have on these people. Yeah.
Pull the whole family together.
Yeah.
So after this, what are resources that you can share, because we are sharing here at the webinar? Are there web pages or somewhere else that you suggest, hey, if you want to learn more information or have continued dialogue or invest, what are those resources?
Yeah, obviously our website is a great place to just maybe, if we haven't explained it well enough yet.
What is your webpage?
It's bidprop.com.
Okay.
Go ahead.
No, and then we produce a impact report once a year, and that's a great summary. If you're looking for more information about the properties or the process, the actual work we're doing on the ground with our property owners and the contractors and tenants. That's on the website. I can share the link here as well.
That would be great if you could share any resources in the chat. I didn't see any additional questions. Raleigh, did you have anything else to add before we end the recording?
Yeah, I mean, Ahmed spoke about me having studied at Harvard, but one of the things I learned there is that you must always work with the people that are more smarter than yourself. So I've got John, who I want him to sort of summarize what I was trying to say here and our picture and our way forward, and probably answering some of the last 2 questions that you asked the 2 gentlemen about. Okay. And yeah, so John, if you just want to just quickly just come in terms of the foundation, Sahif, and where we're looking for partnerships and some kind of a way forwards. Thanks.
Where are you, John?
Yes, here. Thank you very much for that, Raleigh. And Raleigh is absolutely right. We think that the best way to actually create an environment that is conducive to successful deployment of projects in South Africa is an ecosystem. And it's usually an ecosystem that is constituted by partnerships. And so the 3D concrete printing project that Raleigh presented earlier, that he spoke about, was an epitome of exactly that kind of ecosystem, with the Department of Science and Innovation as the policy formulator, and together with the University of Johannesburg as our project manager, and of course the Mabele Foundation as the developer. In terms of the next steps in the areas that we are seeking collaboration in, it's basically 2 areas. The foundation prides itself in having offered bursaries to 83 graduates to date in a space of 4 years. And 83 graduates that now include postgraduate students who are actually studying this technology. 9 of those students are actually conducting key research into materials, science, materials that we will use locally for 3D printing. And these materials range from cow dung to hemp to mixed polymers in various formats and in various compositions, as it were. But what's more exciting, I think, for us right now is the area of research and development insofar as the commercialization of 3D printing and how we push 3D printing into commercial real estate and push it more into mainstream, into being a mainstream construction technology in South Africa. And to this extent, the opportunity that we have and would like to explore in terms of collaboration is to actually roll out a real estate development here in South Africa for student accommodation and as well as a residential accommodation for specifically the low cost or medium cost housing sector. So it's just those 2 areas that we would like to expand upon. I know that we are pressed for time, and those 2 areas for us would be very exciting if we can work on them together. Cheers. No, don't do that. No.
Thank you very much, John. So if you have any of those additional pieces of information that you would like to share in the chat, that would be great. We'll take one last question and then move on to our networking session. Lanre, if you want to go, if I pronounced your name correctly.
Yeah, yes. Thank you for, letting me talk here. I really appreciate coming to this seminar. I learned a lot. I want to give thanks to Ahmed. We were actually talking on something different, and he, popped this and said if you can quickly join it. And I think all the discussion here is going to be very good for Ahmed for what we were discussing this morning. So I would like to get in touch with some of the speakers today and see how we can include that in the planning of what we are trying to do in Nigeria. Thank you.
Awesome. I appreciate you commenting. So if anyone has presenters that they think would have really good content for a group, I would love to hear it. I appreciate everyone taking the time today to learn about the success in South Africa. Hopefully that will spur ideas for your own communities as it is a global issue, affordable housing. And this is one of the ways that potentially we can move forward. And as they mentioned, there's red tape, but where there's obstacles, challenges, there's hopefully ways to overcome them. So again, thank you, everyone. This recording will be on CGBN, on the website, as well as the NICAR YouTube. And again, thank you and have an awesome day.